true, because even Denzel Washington in this montage admits there's a systemic racism in America. He's not saying there isn't. He's just saying what's the solution, and the solution to him is different than what some of the more broad voices would be saying the solution is, like Barack Obama or somebody like that. He's saying no. I get that we have racial inequality, but how does it change? Well, I think it changes with the family. We need more fathers, and I think that.
But where did the fathers go?
Why did they go? Are they incarcerated? Is there
Why are they incarcerated?
Is there bias to how many are incarcerated? That's where the systemic issue that comes back into play. And on we go. We debate, is it nature nurture kind of thing? Well, he's in prison, but he's in prison because the system basically gave him nowhere to go, so he got into trouble, so then he was put in prison. And it's like, well, actually that's kind of true. But what's also true? Well, he's responsible, like Morgan Freeman is saying. You are responsible as an individual. And how does that work? So, I mean...
This is our theology. So you're just applying... So, let's just back this up. We are simultaneously unable and constrained by reality and responsible. Just so that I'm what's the word for that? I forget it. Compatibilist.
Yeah.
Right? So, we are each born into a system run by the devil, unable.
Right.
I mean, ultimately, it's run by God, but the God of this world. At some level, He's running, the earth and the sons of God and sin, and I can't help my anger.
Yeah.
I can't help. So I'm a victim in one sense, and unable to change, and yet I am not at all absolved of responsibility for my sin. Right? That's Romans 9, all over the Bible. So just apply that. We can say that about any situation. So if you take an impoverished child growing up in a really dysfunctional culture that you wouldn't want to move to, and the proof is you haven't, you don't want to live there. You work hard to give your kids different advantages. When people grow up in these disadvantaged scenarios, in one sense, they are trapped. They don't have the options. They can't help it. Now God could intervene in some way and enlighten and bring mentors and that kind of thing, but they are trapped and they're responsible. So I'm just taking that point you made and broadening it back out and say this is just our theology applied, really. Like, if you kill someone, you killed them, and no amount of well, I was born poor is like, oh, okay, then you get off because of that.
And again, why do we take one side or the other in this issue?
Self-justification.
I think most of the time it's self-justification and a way to not have to care for another. So if it's the side that says, poor me, the system's against me, well, there's a lot of issues there, because I think there's a whole group in society that would love to control a population. I'm not going to get too much into that, but people will take advantage of the idea that you need help, right? So let me help you. Oh, and with that, let me tell you how to think. Let me tell you how to vote. Let me tell you how to... Okay, so we know that there's that going on in society, that people take advantage of the needs of others and then act like they actually care, but they don't. But there's also the desire to just get off the hook.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in that position where, it's not my fault. But the other side says, hey, look, you're responsible. And if you don't do your part, I don't have to care for you.
Right.
If you don't get out of jail and stop doing drugs, then I don't have to care for you.
This is not gospel.
And I can feel better about myself that I was more responsible than you. That's why I have savings. Or whatever it is. And you said this in your sermon on Sunday, like, you forget grace. You forget when you judge the rioters, you used to riot, and yet you forget that because now you feel better than them on your own terms. And it makes you angry now because it's self-justified. And you went through that in a personal story.
I wasn't expecting a therapy session.
And you're expressing that side of it, where you start to not have grace because it's about pulling yourself by your own bootstraps. You forget the gospel. So there's both sides are seeking to self-justify and to find a way to not have responsibility. And here's the deal. I think that when we look at videos like that, we have to think this way. We have to be like, well, that's a good point, Morgan Freeman. Yeah, but overall, is that a reason now for me to not care about the issues that are being brought up? Is that a reason to disengage then and just say the media is blowing this up? I don't think so.